Sana, we're ready.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session today on getting ready for U.S. study. This is one of the 2 sessions we have organized for those who have received admission to U.S. higher education institutions and are planning to travel to the U.S. this fall. Therefore, on behalf of Education USA and our guest speakers, congratulations, and we wish you success on your academic journey. Our session today is also for those who are interested to learn more about academics, campus life, and related topics. Before I give the mic to our guest speakers to introduce themselves and the institutions they represent, the session agenda is as follows. We will provide you with a brief overview of Education USA mission and the 5 steps to U.S. study. We'll also have a session on U.S. education system, a session on code of ethics in academic writing and research. Our third session component will be how to make the most of your opportunities at university beyond the coursework. And of course, the final and the 4th session will be on maintaining visa status and staying safe. Afterwards, we will open the floor for a Q&A session, your questions, but please do feel free to add your comments or any questions you may have as we proceed with the presentations. And towards the end of our session, we will also share with you the agenda for session number 2, which will be on August 2nd. Thank you. Can we start with Martin, if you would like to introduce yourself?
Unmute, of course. Sorry. Masa al-Khair, my name is Martin Miller. I'm the Assistant Vice President of Temple University in Philadelphia on the East Coast of the United States. Marwan Sanat, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to speak with the students. And you will learn more about Temple and I hope not to bore you in a few minutes about the U.S. higher education system. Thank you very much.
Patricia?
Hi, I'm Dr. Patricia Sagasti-Supis, and I'm the Director of Global Education at Hartwick College, which is a small liberal arts college in the upper part of New York State. And I just like Martin, I will speak about my college a little bit later, and I am looking forward to connecting with all of you.
Wang?
Good morning, evening, everyone. My name is Wang Chao. I'm speaking to you from sunny Colorado. We have 300 days of sunshine here in the state of Colorado and University of Colorado Springs. And I was an international student years back, and I'm excited to share with you all my journeys from international student to where I am today and what I learned from schools.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Gabi Schmiege, and I'm the Assistant Director for Sponsored Student Programs at UC Santa Cruz. I work in the International Student Office there, and I've been an International Student Advisor for about 25 years. And I look forward to talking to you about how to stay safe and how to maintain your immigration status. Fun topics.
Thank you so much, Gabby, Patricia, Martin, and Wang. Hi, everyone. My name is Marwa Shille, and I would like to just briefly talk to you about Education USA and the 5 steps to US study if you are joining us for the first time. Education USA is a US Department of State network of approximately 425 advising centers. As you can see, we have so many advising centers in around 178 countries and territories around the world. And our services range from, having public sessions, having information sessions on different topics. We work with different cohorts like the Competitive College Club, and we also have individual consultations, and we also welcome US higher education institutions to our country. That was before COVID, and now we're connecting with them through virtual sessions and different conferences that we have as Education USA network. The 5 steps to US study is a guide for anyone who is interested in pursuing their academic degree, their academic study in the United States. The first step is to research your options. It is very important for you to understand and research different program and opportunities that you would like to pursue, of course, based on your priorities. The second step is to finance your studies. As an international student, you need to understand the cost that you need to pay if you would like to pursue your study in the US. And many students also ask us about the different scholarship opportunities or financial aid opportunities. And you also need to understand the different eligibility requirements for these opportunities if you would like to apply to them. The third step is to complete your application. It is we always encourage our students to at least start researching different colleges and preparing themselves for the application requirements at least 12 to 18 months prior to their enrollment date. And so it depends on the level of study that you want to pursue. The requirements will change also from one higher education institution to another. The fourth step is to apply for your student visa. As an international student, there are different steps that you need to go through to apply and hopefully receive approval for your student visa. And the fifth and final step is to prepare for your departure. Of course, you would like to finalize certain things in your home country or with your US higher education institution before you travel to the US. You will find so much information about these 5 steps to US study and more resources and links on our main website, which you can see in red on the screen, educationusa.state.gov. Also, you can actually find the nearest advising center to you on the same Education USA website. And now we're going to start with our first guest presenter, Martin from Temple University. Martin, you're muted.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay, Marwa, thank you very much again for putting us all together here. And I hope to give you in the next few minutes just an understanding of the very, very complex higher education system in the United States. And hopefully by the end, you'll know why I have system here in quotation marks rather than just a regular part of the title. Again, my name is Martin Miller. I am Assistant Vice President for International Affairs at Temple University. I have been at Temple for about 20 years or so. Before Temple, I was at the University of Georgia, both as a PhD student and director of the language program there. And before that, I was in Beirut. I was raised in Lebanon. And I'm a product, if you will, of both the study abroad experience coming from Lebanon to the United States, but then also the other way around because I went back to Lebanon from the United States. So I've traveled both ways. And I envy you your beginning of a search at this time. However, it is not going to be an easy search. So hopefully we'll begin to give you a little bit of background here. So Marwa, the next slide, please. Okay, so the US higher education system is basically categorized under something called the Carnegie classification of higher ed in the United States. There are over 4,000 universities and colleges within the US. And one of the first things to distinguish is the difference between a college and a university. Primarily, a college will be an institution that offers the bachelor's or the associate's degrees, what we would call an undergraduate program. We do have a small number, as you see in front of you, of master's colleges. But then we move to universities, which incorporate usually several different colleges. So at Temple, for example, we have 17 colleges and schools within Temple University, and each of the colleges and schools offers different curricula. At the undergraduate level, we've got associate and bachelor. We'll get a little bit more into that. Then we move into what we would call the graduate level. Much of the world calls it postgraduate, but in the United States, it's the graduate, where we have a master's program. We have doctoral programs. Most people call them the PhD. Again, we'll get a little bit more detail. And then we have professional universities. The classifications that you see here for the doctoral programs, very high research activity and high research activity, are used to distinguish between doctoral programs. So Temple University, for example, is in the very high research activity, where among, I think it's 130 institutions in the United States out of the 4,000 that is categorized at this level, another 130 or 50 are at the high research activity. And so then you've got a couple of thousand others that are not at either of those. Marwa, next slide, please. So the undergraduate programs, again, we're using a US terminology here. Undergraduate programs are distinguished between either the associate's degree or a bachelor's degree. The associate's degree is generally a 2-year degree that is offered through a school called a junior college, or in some cases, they're called community colleges. They are both, again, offering, for the most part, only 2-year degrees. You might find in some community colleges or junior colleges a very small number of bachelor degree programs. But by definition, again, the Carnegie classification, there have to be fewer than 10% of the degrees, or less than 10% will be bachelor's. If they are more than 10%, then they fall into bachelor's degree program. Bachelor's degree generally are 4-year programs offered in, again, Carnegie classification breaks them up into arts and sciences programs or into the more diverse fields. Most degrees in the US, most bachelor's degrees are a 4-year degree, and they lead up to the next level. Marwa, the next slide, please. The master's programs. So master's programs are generally, again, in the United States, a program study that will last between 1 and 3 years. Most master's programs will be distinguished between 2 different types. And so you have a thesis master's program where the goal is to write a relatively long paper at the end of the program called a thesis, or you can be in a non-thesis master program, which would be primarily coursework or maybe a little bit of research to get through the program. The 1 to 3 year determination is both based on the thesis or not, as well as the amount of research expected of you and the field of study. So generally, for example, humanities might be a 2-year program, but a heavy science program might be 3 years because of the amount of research that you'd be expected to do. There is also relatively newly in the US something called a professional master's degree, which takes between 1 and 2 years, and this is almost always a non-thesis program based coursework and practical experience, hence the name professional master's degree. So as you're looking, when you move into the master's level, if you see the PMS, Professional Master of Science, it is still a master's degree, but distinguished slightly from the MS, or the Masters of Science. Following a master's program, one generally moves into the doctoral program. But one of the interesting things to understand is that in the US, maybe 10 years ago, it was expected that one would have a master's before moving into the doctoral program. Now, however, many doctoral programs in the US are accepting students directly from the undergraduate. So at Temple, for example, we have over 400 undergraduate programs, about 200 master's programs, and about 200 more doctoral programs. And a student can come to Temple and progress her way all the way through the 3 programs, or take just the undergraduate and then move right into the PhD program. And I'm not sure about the colleagues on this talk, but I find more and more that this is becoming a pattern. The master's program is simply a step, if you will, between the undergraduate and the PhD. The professional master's program, again, I'm going to focus on that one, however, does generally not lead to the doctorate. That is one that one pursues intending to remain in the field, if you will, in the real world rather than in academia. Doctoral programs are more and more named different things now. Most of us, at least those who have as little hair as I or as much gray hair as I, were most familiar with the PhD. That was the doctoral program that almost everybody went into. Now we're finding that the PhD has morphed or changed into the EDD, the Doctor of Education. One can also do, again, all of these are available at Temple, which is why I'm using them as examples, but they're not, it's not a comprehensive list. So the DBA, for example, is not doing business as, it's the Doctor of Business Administration. The DPH is the Doctor of Public Health. DPN, Doctor of Professional Nursing. These are all programs that fall into the doctoral granting institutions, and all of them range between 4 and 7 years. Again, depending on the amount of coursework that one will conduct, the amount of research that one needs to do, or as simple as how good your doctoral committee is. I, for example, was very lucky. I had a doctoral committee who ensured that I finished my degree in exactly 4 years. From the day I started, the day I was done, 4 years, but they kept you on track. So something that all of you need to keep in mind, sorry, this is just a digression here, but as you're beginning your undergraduate or your graduate programs, remember that some of your best friends to make sure you're done will be your academic advisors. They are the ones who will make sure that you are done in 4 years for your undergraduate program, or say 2 years for your master's, or say 4 to 5 years in your doctoral program. So while the amount of time might change, keep in mind that your academic advisors at all levels will make sure that you stay within these time frames. Okay, then beyond the doctoral, Marwa, I think we have one more slide about levels of, there we go. We also have something called professional degrees. Different from the doctoral programs, even though, as you see in front of you, they're all called Doctor of something. So the dentist, we all know people as dentists, they actually hold what's called the Doctor of Dental Medicine or Doctor of Dental Surgery. A lawyer, we don't know that they're doctors, but they are. They are doctors of juridical science. Doctor of Medicine is your MD. Doctor of Pharmacy is the person who gives you your medication at the pharmacy. And at Temple, we even have something as specific as the Doctor of Podiatric Medicine. We have one school, the School of Podiatric Medicine, devoted exclusively to medicine of the feet. So other schools will have these kinds of programs also. The difference between these and the doctoral programs is that a student generally enters a professional program after 3 to 4 years in the bachelor's program. So this is not where you go from bachelor, you complete 4 years, take a bachelor's, then you have to do the master's, then you do your professional program. This admission comes directly from, there's your cat, Gabriel. Sorry, Archie is a good looking cat there. We have, what I'm trying to get at here is the different levels. We do have 4,000 different colleges, all of which are based on what we call the system, but the system is only loosely connected. So the next slide, Marwa, and this will explain it just a little bit more. Thank you. So within our 4,000 universities, all of which will fall into one of those different Carnegie classifications, we have a lot of other distinctions between our universities. The first and most popular, if you will, or most easily identified is, are you a public school or a private school? And in the United States, a public school is one which gets funding from a state or local government, essentially. We do not have in the US a federal system of education. So if you see at the bottom, no Ministry of Education or no Ministry of Higher Education, but each state within the 50 states has its own system. And then within those 50 states, some of the universities are supported by the government and some are not. So public is, again, supported by the government, private is supported by other funds, and then you have in the middle, quasi-public or semi-private. So we, for example, at Temple get some of our funds from the state, and then some of our funds come from private sources. So we are called a quasi-public or semi-private university. Another thing to keep in mind between universities is some of us are for-profit, some of us are not for-profit. You will rarely find a public for-profit, but you might find a private not-for-profit, even though that's not logical. But all of these, the combinations will come through. You'll also hear most of us talk about our liberal arts curriculum. At the undergraduate level of most of our universities and colleges, we offer what's called the liberal arts curriculum, a general curriculum, which then becomes specialized in the last 2 years. Comprehensive research university is something that you'll hear about. Again, like Temple, a very large university that offers from the bachelor's all the way through to the PhD and high level of research. You'll also hear about minority serving institutions in the United States, and more focus is placed on these recently. I've mentioned already that we don't have a federal Ministry of Education, but we do have states. And then all universities in the US are somehow regionally or locally accredited. So though the federal government does not ensure quality control, there are agencies across the country that will ensure, again, quality standards through the process of accreditation. Temple, for example, is accredited through the Middle States, which is part of New York, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, so that area. Each of us has to be accredited, and I would suggest that as you continue your searches, you do look for accreditation. And then within accreditation, you even have discipline accreditation. So Temple, for example, we're accredited as a university, but our business school, our engineering college, each of the individual disciplines is also accredited. And I think that is enough to bore you with for a little bit, and then you can get into the actual meat. So thank you very much, and I will now mute and go to my own cat.
Thank you so much, Martin. And now I'm going to hand it over to Patricia from Hartwick College.
Hi, and thank you for this opportunity, Sana and Marwa. So I am at Hartwick College, and as I said, that's in a small college in upstate New York, in a very beautiful location that you can see behind me. The college is up on a hill, and we overlook the valley. I just want to add to what Martin was talking about with the differences between a small and a large institution. Because we are a very small institution, I studied at a small institution similar to Hartwick. And because it was small and I had a lot of one-on-one time with my professors, I got to do a lot of writing. And it prepared me for my master's and PhD program at a large Research One institution. So I was better prepared than many of my colleagues who had come from big schools, because I had a lot of writing and a lot of feedback and a lot of opportunities for presentations and communication. So that's the strength of a small liberal arts college. Hartwick has a small group of international students, but they come from all over the world. And we are a very tight-knit community. We have a lot of special opportunities for international students, such as travel. We organize trips to local cities. So New York City is about 4 hours away. Boston is about 4 hours away. Philadelphia is the same distance. And we only have 10 students for every professor. So there's a lot of time to get to know your faculty and get a lot of support. And as I'm going to talk about the code of ethics, it's really important to remember that, because you reach out to that faculty for the support that you need. At Hartwood College, we have an undergraduate program. It's typically 4 years, but we do have an option for certain majors to complete in 3 years. And we have two campuses, our regular campus and our environmental campus, which has a lake and kayaking and retreat centers and places to do some reflection and thinking and hiking and outdoor activities. And we also have lots of scholarships for international students. Our most popular majors are nursing, biology, business, psychology, criminal justice, but we have many, many more. And we have a program called Flight Path, which helps students with the academics, and co-curricular, which is non-academic life that prepares you for your career in the future. So Marwa, can we go to the next slide, please? So I'm using mostly as a source the International Center for Academic Integrity. And this is actually an example of academic integrity, which is that I am telling you where the source is coming from and where my information is coming from. So academic integrity is more than just what you do in the classroom. It's how you behave within the institution and in the community. So let's begin with honesty, which is really the connection between the individual and the community. And honesty goes in both directions. It involves everyone in the community, and it requires everyone to be truthful, to give credit for the work or information that you're learning. So if you're in a class and you're doing a presentation, or if you're writing a paper, you want to give credit to your sources of information. You keep your promises. You provide evidence. So if I'm having a debate in a class, for instance, and I say something, give facts, I need to provide evidence to support those facts. And you're objective. You consider all sides of a situation. Trust is reciprocal, so it goes in both directions. Students need to make sure that the work that they do is their own work. Professors need to set clear guidelines and be fair in their evaluation of student work, so that if both groups set expectations and trust the others, that develops an atmosphere, a community of trust. And the thing that students can do that really is going to help you succeed in this is to ask for help. Ask your professors. Every college and university in the US also has a writing center, a math center, tutoring. Ask for help, because if you're not sure, if you're being completely honest, if you're not sure if you're giving enough credit, you can get help doing that. Fairness, treat everyone with the same respect, keep an open mind, be transparent in your interactions with others, and take responsibility for your actions. When you make mistakes, if you honestly say, I've made a mistake, that actually goes a long ways towards helping build trust. So fairness and trust are connected. Respect, you should respect yourself and other people. You should take an active role in your education, own your education, contribute to discussions, practice active listening. And if you know what active listening is, you're listening and you're paying attention to what is being said, and you're thinking of ways that connects with other things that the person has said. Your active listening is very different from regular listening in that you are formulating ways to interact with that person and asking good questions while they're speaking. Try to understand other perspectives and show empathy to others and accept differences. Responsibility. So responsibility means that you're accountable for your actions. You hold yourself to a high standard. You engage in difficult conversations, even though it is difficult to do that. You follow the rules, you know the rules, and you follow the rules. You need to make yourself aware of rules in your college and US laws, and that will be part of your orientation when you first arrive. And on any campus in the US, you go through an international student orientation and they talk to you about those rules. And you follow through on tasks. If you are given a task, or if you say you're going to do something, you follow through and you go ahead and do it. And courage. It takes a lot of courage to come to a different country and study. So you are already ahead of the game if you're thinking about coming to the US to study, because you are already a courageous person. But hold yourself to the highest standards. Be brave. Stand up for other people who also need your support if they are unable to stand up for themselves. Be willing to take some risks. And that, I have been a professor for many, many years. And that one is the hardest for students. They don't like to take risks. So I give an assignment and they follow the assignment exactly as it is, but they never give me a little bit more than the assignment. And the students who get the best grades are the ones who do a little more than what's asked of them, and who ask me, is it okay if I do this assignment a little bit differently? I have a really great idea I'd like to try out. Those are students that are successful academically. Marwa, can we go to the next slide, please? So I want to talk very briefly about plagiarism, because that's a really big issue in the United States, and it's quite different in the US. than it is in many parts of the world. Plagiarism is copying in whole or in part the words or ideas of someone else without giving them credit. And this concept is different in the US. A lot of times in other countries around the world, and I've worked a lot with students from different parts of the world, and I'm actually, I'm from Peru, so I understand the differences in looking at what constitutes plagiarism. But a lot of times students think that repeating what experts have said because they are the experts and a student is not, that is what is expected. In the US, that's really not what is expected. So how to avoid plagiarism? You want to use proper techniques for citation and to attribute ideas. So if you're writing a paper, you're going to cite your sources. You're going to use the techniques that your professors have required. And it depends on what you're studying. So if you're in the humanities, I'm in a humanities field, I use the Modern Language Association guidelines. But I also work sometimes in education, and that field uses the APA guidelines. So there are different ones. You just need to do the ones that your professors request in that particular class. And the way you learn about this is in your freshman class, usually in your freshman English class. They teach citation techniques, and they'll talk to you about what is plagiarism and how to avoid plagiarism. The second thing is you need to quote and cite whenever you use someone else's words. You need to use quotations. You need to directly cite them. You need to say what your source is, what the page was, who the author is. Go to the writing center. As I said, every college and university has writing centers, and they're there to help you. You don't pay any extra money to go and get help. You bring your papers. Usually it's most successful if you go to the writing center with something already written, with an idea or an outline or the beginning of a paper, and you ask specific questions. And then the professors who are working at the writing center can tell you how you can improve your paper, but they can also spot plagiarism. So you can come to them and you can say, I'm not sure if this is the way I'm supposed to cite something, or if this is actually plagiarism. I'm using this idea and I'm not sure how to go about citing it. And they will help you with that. They're experts at it. The other thing you should always do is ask your professor. You should never be afraid to go to your professor's office hours, and all professors have office hours in which they're in their office expressly so that students can come and ask for help. And I've been a professor for 20 years now. We really want to help you. That's what we're there for. So if you're not sure whether something is plagiarism or how to cite something, always ask your professor. They can also give you some support in improving your work. So it's worthwhile to do your work a little bit in advance of deadlines, and then having some time to talk to your professors about how to improve it. And then use the writing manuals and online resources. And again, I'm going to go back to your freshman English class. That class is where they're going to teach you about what resources are available to you. I always like to use the Purdue OWL pages, but different professors ask you to use different things. Just follow along. And then the top tip that I have for you academically in general, it relates to plagiarism, but isn't only about plagiarism, is to read your syllabus very carefully. At the very beginning of every class, you get a syllabus. It's like the map to your course for the semester. What are you going to study? What are the books you're going to need? What days are you turning in what? And if you stay on top of your syllabus and you read the professor's policies, you're going to be able to avoid a lot of issues. So, and I'll just take questions at the end, but thank you so much. That was my part.
Thank you so much, Patricia. And I'm going to hand it over now to Wang.
Good evening, everyone, again. I am going to share some of my experience and my student experience with you on how to make the most of your opportunities at university beyond coursework. And some of these are life experience and some of these are things I learned from other students. So next slide, please. So first thing you want to know is when you get to the US institution, if you're at an undergrad level, I highly recommend a dorm experience, but it's not required. But imagine you come in traveling to the school with a suitcase, and you need to understand if you rent a dorm space, it comes with a bed, a desk, a chair, maybe a bookshelf, a few essentials, but you will need to get sheets, pillows, comforters, and those are essentials. And these are things that you look how you can ask your international office or the housing office when you're signing your housing contracts, like, hey, I'm traveling from here. And when I get there, is there opportunity? And a lot of times I found international flights arriving in the US are towards evening, towards middle of the night. So when you get to your destination, you may not have an opportunity to purchase these items. So you may be addressed to your dorm room by a very sleepy RA, resident assistant, or staff, and then you're gonna be shocked going to your dorm room with nothing, right? So if that's the case, make sure you have a thick jacket, and so you can just lay your head down, sleep, next morning, you'll be fine. And then to make sure you navigate your way to a store, nearest department store, to purchase these things. And again, oftentimes international office, your resident hall office is going to be your best friends. But if you are thinking, oh, I'm going to rent an apartment, I have these other friends that come into the US with me, we're going to rent an apartment. Oh boy, you're going to be in for a shock, because you're going to get to the apartment with empty rooms, there's no furniture, empty kitchen, there's no appliance. There's some essential appliances like refrigerator, microwave, but you have nothing. So think about all these when you're planning your arrival and arrival to the US and to the city you're going to. For example, Colorado Springs is at about 6,000 feet height, and that's about 1,800 meter height. So it's high up in the air, and then we are so at night, once the sun goes away, there's zero humidity, it gets really cold. So something like that you want to know, and you can always ask your international student advisor, international student advising office. Like UCCS, we offer international student ambassadors. When you're admitted to the university, complete your orientation, and then you will be assigned an ambassador to help you get acclimated to Colorado Springs. And you can always ask that of any schools that you are planning to attend to help you with that. And I found when I first arrived at the US with my giant suitcase, the biggest shock for me is, oh, I have to do my own laundry. And that's just not something I'm used to. And then, but the word of advice is make sure you have a place to sleep and you have something to cover yourself. That's the first night. After that, you will be given opportunities to navigate through everything. The second thing I had to learn is I need to make sure I know where the food is. So UCCS, at least our campus dormitory all look similar. So you wake up in the morning, you're disoriented, you're jet lagged, and then you're trying to find, where am I going to get food? If you arrive during the time that school tell you that you need to arrive, there's always food on campus. So ask your resident assistant. Oh, yes, my apologies. I get nervous, excited, start speaking really fast. Yes, thank you. So you will be able to ask around and say, hey, where do you go for your breakfast? Where do you eat? Usually living on campus comes with what we call meal plans, meaning that you can eat on campus unlimited. It's like buffet style. You go into a chow hall, and then there's going to be all sorts of things for you to eat. And if you do have dietary restrictions, I learned a lot of different words. First word I learned was halal. You want to make sure you let your residence hall and your people you're talking to know that, because a lot of American campuses don't have these items readily available. So if you do have a dietary restriction, like I am a vegan right now, so I don't eat any dairy, I don't eat meat. And so I need to make sure when I eat my breakfast, there has to be a soy milk. so I need to make sure they know that I'm a vegan. Will there be any problem? And how will you help me find the food I need? So that's very nutshell when you first get to a school. Next slide, please. And anytime you have any questions, please feel free to just type in the chat, and we'll, as you can see, we've been addressing all that throughout the chat. So in the classroom, and then the next slide, please. And then the next slide. So as you can see, it's all people. So and one thing you will learn is there's a lot of, wherever you go, there's a lot of people, and you're not alone. And back when I was coming to the US in '93, I need to find a phone card because there's no way to make international call. But today, you just need the Wi-Fi password. And oftentimes as a student, you get that for free. Then you can connect with your community, and you can connect with your families, and you can connect with your best friends, let them know you made it. Oh my goodness, the size of this what I found was a different variety of potato chips. And the bag is as big as my whole body. It's amazing. So you can be, so it's really nice that if you live on campus, you will be provided with the school password and for Wi-Fi. But if you live off campus and live in an apartment, that's something you want to make sure you find out before you go. What kind of utilities, that's what we call. So your electricity, your water, your very important internet, and how do you get them, and how soon you can get them, and what is it required. A lot of students come to the US cities. They didn't know they need to get all that. And then more importantly, how do you make the money you have at home or in your wallet or your credit card usable when you trying to sign a contract to get an apartment or get a bank account? And those are really good service that your international office can offer you. So, and I highly recommend. A lot of my students were like, oh, but my roommate says this. A lot of times your assigned American roommate does not know you do not have a social security number. And that's a requirement for a lot of banks for you to open an account and to sign a contract and whatnot. So where do you go? Ask your international office. They're your best friends for your first year, I say, when you get to the US. And any question you have, has students had that problem. If they don't, they're devoted to help you get all these situations resolved. So you have to be resourceful. And then so you want to, your classroom, you have friends, and you have to learn how to communicate with them. When I first came to the US, I speak very little English. I can read, no problem. I can write, no problem. But trying to speak and understand what they're saying was very, very hard. And back in the days, yes, there's no cell phone yet. So I have a notepad with me all the time, and then I would just write down my questions. And then, but now today it's really easy. You exchange your WhatsApp number, you exchange your whatever the university's preferred communication method is, and you can send a quick email, text message to people to find your answers, so which is really great. But then you still need to build this community, find your resources is very important, right? So outside classroom, you want to make sure you know where to go. Again, where? International office, very, very important. Connect with your international office, make sure they're your best friend for any questions you have. And no question is too big, no question is too small. And they will help you. And another thing I learned is you don't want to just know the answer, you want to know how to get the answers. So you're studying about you're in a new city, and really a lot of different things. One of the biggest differences I learned is, so in the US, in a dormitory room, you sleep between your mattress, a mattress, a sheet, another sheet, and then your comforter. So there's a lot of different layers. And then, so when you go to the store and buy a bed in a bag, it comes in all these items, and you're like, how do I put them together? That's not a stupid question. If you have a student going to Europe, they'll be very confused. Where is the top sheets? Where is the fitted sheet? Everybody's different. And some of us in Taiwan, we don't even have all different kinds of sheets. We just go from mattress. It's a futon, so everything is covered already, and then you go with your sheets, right? So everything is different. No question is too big, no question is too small. If you don't feel comfortable to ask your peers, ask the international office. Our international office actually has a picture to show you how to assemble your bed in your dormitory room. It's so helpful. And again, we talk about make sure you know where to eat. It's very important. And then, so with all these people you meet, you need to learn who your community is to get your support, and you need to respect everybody's time. So if you send a message to an office at 7 o'clock at night, oftentimes it is not urgent. It's not life and death emergency. You won't get a response till 8 o'clock in the morning. So you want to be respectful of your time and their time. So think ahead. So wake up in the morning, what do I need to do today? What are the things I need to do? And what are the challenges I'm going to face? And then in the morning, you have 8 hours, actually 9 hours, because 8 to 5. You can ask your international office, okay, these are things I want to do today, and these are things I don't know how to do. Can you help me? And so make sure you have a list. And so plan your time, respect everybody else's time and your time, so you're not stressed out at 7 p.m. I have no answer, I don't know what to do. And that's, you don't want that, right? So, and then you want to be open mind. So I remember my first dorm room. It's a 3 girls in one room, 3 girls in another room. In the middle, we have a bathroom, 1 single toilet, shower, and all that. So 6 of us share a dorm, like a space. And I am Asian, so I shower before I go to sleep. So 9 o'clock, I'm showered and ready to go to bed. And my class is at first day class is at 9 a.m. I don't plan to get up till 8 o'clock. But 5 a.m., everyone is up doing their hair, shower, and schedule their time to go into the bathroom. I'm just, I need my sleep. So something like that, you have to think. You respect their time, and then how do you communicate that with them? Say, hey, can you be mindful about my schedule? And because I do this, and so how do we do this? So you can't make them accommodate you, but how do you help each other out? So schedule time differently, or hey, if it's absolutely the last resort, I need a different room because this is not going to work. Six girls, 5 a.m. when I don't need to be there. It's just something that you can always ask. You cannot say, I need a different room. Okay, this is not working out for me. Talk to your RA. Are there different rooms I can switch to? And so ask nicely. You oftentimes to get accommodated because cultural difference and whatnot. So you want to be open-minded to other people's lifestyle and as well as yours. And another culture shock for me is as grew up in Taiwan, we eat hot breakfast. In the US, there's cereal, milk, all cold, or there's cheese, also cold. And it was, I don't know how to do that. And my stomach really didn't feel really well for the first months and probably longer than that after that. So now I'm dairy intolerant as well, because it's just has kind of really messed up my stomach since then. So things about your diet is very important. You want to make sure you let your people know. So you're studying abroad, and can I have the next slide, please? And yes, and then your first week in school, you'll see all sorts of posters everywhere. Oh, they're going to learn to climb. This is the examples of activities for our students. Like learn first aid. We're going to learn how to climb. So don't be shy. If you know nothing about this is the best way to make new friends. So friends don't really just come because they share the room with you. Oftentimes come from interest. So if you're into outdoors, just sign up and try it. And if you don't know what you're interested in, sign up for everything. Make sure it fits your schedule outside your classroom, and then try everything out. Oh, you don't like it? So that's fine. Go in there, try it, didn't like it, and tell them, sorry, this is not my thing. And then try something else. This is how you make friends with similar interests. Then you'll have somebody to talk to about cycling after classroom, beyond your classmate, beyond your professors and your roommate, to someone outside your little social circle. And so this is really important activities. You're going to see a lot of these. And next slide, please. And their most important thing, most of them are free for students to attend. So I have attended, it's funny, we're in the mountain region, but we have a giant desert in the middle of Colorado called Sand Dunes. So what do? The school will put you in the shuttle and bring a whole bunch of boards with you. You go sand surfing. I think it's a lot of fun. So I signed up and went, it was fun. And one of the picture here is our sports event. And sometimes they have evening events for people living on campus. Even if you don't live on campus, if you're students, you can still go. It's all school events are free. And this is really the best way to meet people. And then that's where you learn how to connect with people. And what I learned from my 6 years of education in the US is It's not what you know, because you're going to learn that in your classroom. It's who you know. This networking is so important. And if you're shy like me in the beginning, you don't know how to talk to people, join events like this will really help. And most important thing, you go to a booth like this and it's like, so what are you offering? What's in it for me? And those are excellent questions. And you can also hear, which I did a lot when I first started living here. I stand by the booth and listen to how other people ask the question. And then I will replicate that question at the next booth and then start a conversation. And I do the same, keep going. So I know how to talk to people. It's so important. And next slide, please. And so at university, it's also great because you have a lot of services just for you. And this will be my last slide because I think I'm over the time. You have an issue, please make sure you talk to your advisors, international student advisor, academic advisor, and there's also counseling advisor. Just one-on-one, very personal. I think a lot of us go through a lot of emotional up and down, cultural shock and whatnot, and you can just make an appointment. It's free for students and go talk to these counselors. If your academic advisor cannot help you, ask them, where can I go? In UCCS, we have counseling, it's private. We have Dean of Students, private. All these appointments are private and nobody else can get information except you and the person you speak to. You can learn about how to navigate through the stress, anxiety that you have. And we're here to help you to be successful, not just academically. We want you to grow. We want you to grow confidence. We want you to be successful, not just with your degree. We want you to come out and be able to apply for a job and get that job. So, and there's always service on campus to help you. You don't have to be shy and just ask. International office, again, is your best friend. Make them your best friend. Ask them all the questions. And again, be respectful of their time and your time. And then make sure you ask the question between 8 to 5. And if you ask the question, if it's not urgent, they will get back to you the next day, I promise. They're here to help you. They want you to be successful. No questions too big, no questions too small. Another life experience I learned in my college days is, doesn't matter what major you end up choosing, I highly recommend a marketing class and a business class about budget and finance. These are two classes going to help you to be successful after college. You need to know how to promote yourself, how to talk to people about you, who you are, so you can get a job easier and then make friends easier. So that's it. And if you have any questions, please feel to type up and I'm here to help answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Wang, for all the information that you just shared. And I'm going to hand it over to Gabby.
Thank you, Marwa. Again, good evening. My name is Gabi Schmiegel and welcome to UC Santa Cruz. And while this section of the presentation is titled Maintaining Visa Status and Staying Safe, I would like to call it or rename it How to Be a Successful Student in the United States. Because being successful, getting to your goals, accomplishing what you want to accomplish is integrally tied to your immigration status as an international student and your personal welfare and staying safe while you're in the US. And before I begin talking about the topic a little bit more, let me tell you a little bit about UC Santa Cruz. If you have presenter view on, you can see the background behind me. That is a picture, an aerial picture of our beautiful campus. We are located on a hill overlooking the beautiful Monterey Bay on the Pacific Ocean. And we are basically on what used to be a farm, a ranch and have a forest, a redwood forest as part of our campus. As you may know, UC Santa Cruz or University of California, Santa Cruz is part of the University of California system, which is typically recognized as one of the leading systems of public research universities in the US, if not in the world. And we do have, Santa Cruz has a main campus, of course, on the hill. We have a satellite campus located in Silicon Valley, which is about 50 kilometers or about a 25-minute drive from Santa Cruz. And we also have an ocean sciences campus right by the seashore. UC Santa Cruz is relatively young. We were founded in 1965. And as Martin explained, you know, there are private liberal arts colleges, and then there are larger public research universities. We combine the experience, the small networking, the attention that you would get at a small liberal arts college with the resources and opportunities you would have at a large research university. Students describe the campus as basically chill, a tolerant, supportive place where differences among people are celebrated. And whatever your interests or identities, you will find a community here to help support you. And that's basically what I wanted to talk about UC Santa Cruz. So let's move on to the next slide, please, Marwa. Thank you. So we've already talked a little bit about values, and you'll probably ask yourself, what do values in the US, what do culture in the US has to do with maintaining my immigration status or being safe? And basically, in order to make that connection, let me tell you a little bit more about the cultural values that are very important for the US and how they filter into your role as an international student. In the US, we place a premium on personal responsibility. So you will get information and in emails and orientation, in, Patricia mentioned the syllabus in your class. That is a piece of information that is actually a contract. And it is your responsibility to understand the information that you're being given and also to ask questions about that if you do not understand what is being asked of you. So how this relates to your immigration status is that you will get your immigration status. You will have a visa when you go to the US Embassy in Jerusalem, and then you will enter the United States, show them show the passport and your visa stamp and your immigration document at the airport, most likely. And then you will be given an immigration status by the immigration officer. Once you have entered the US and you have that immigration status, it is then your personal responsibility to maintain that status, to understand the rules that underlie your immigration status, and to be aware of what you are allowed and not allowed to do. Whether you choose to do anything that you're not allowed to do is your choice. We can't prevent you from doing anything, but it's your responsibility to maintain your immigration status. In the US, we also put a strong value on taking initiative, being active, action-oriented. And that also means that while people take an interest in you and your academic advisor, your international student office, the instructors in your classes may notice whether or not you're attending classes. They may notice whether you take good care of yourself, whether you eat, whether you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's more difficult or not necessarily expected of staff at universities to reach out to you without your initiative. So if you're struggling with anything, if you have any questions, if anything is not clear to you, along with the personal responsibility and the individualism, we expect you to take the initiative for asking for help. And that can be very, very difficult and can be intimidating at times. But what you'll find is that when you ask for help or you ask for clarification, you will find a huge support network that will be able to answer your question, will actually be looking forward to working with you, and will be happy that you're engaging and being active in taking a role in your welfare and understanding information. Both Patricia and Wang talked about time management and how essential it is. And you probably have heard the saying or the idiom, time is money in the US. So We place a high value on efficiency, on deadlines, on maintaining deadlines, on adhering to deadlines, submitting your papers on time. And with the immigration system, you have to be registered for your classes by a specific time in the academic calendar. Otherwise, you risk imperiling your immigration status. So time, watching out for deadlines, understanding what you need to do, again, is a value that is translated into actions that you have to take as an international student in the US. We also value community. Yes, we are an individualistic country where we, want individual achievement. We want students to make individual choices. We hold students, personally responsible for their choices. But you will also find that in the higher education community, there is a very, very strong value of making connections among students, creating community, especially if you're going and attending a larger campus where having a built-in community is not necessarily always that easy. You will find that universities do a lot in order to help you establish community and have a network of friends. And that also basically translates into being part of the international student community and making friends with the international student advisors at your school. And both, Wang as well as Martin and also Patricia mentioned the importance of networking and relationship building. So having a network, building relationships with the people around you at the university is really, really important. Going to your professors or your instructors' office hours, asking questions, making personal connections with them, asking about their research if they are in a research university setting, asking about their, academic interests. That will go a long way of having a connection to somebody who will then be a good resource for you for recommendations after you graduate or for internship evaluations. So next slide, please. So having said all that, you will be juggling a lot of different things while you are a student, as you are already juggling a lot of things before you even come to the US. You have friends that you want to meet, you have your school schedule, and you have your homework assignments, you have, your potential clubs, you play soccer potentially, or football. You have hobbies, you have, your friends and family have expectations of you, and you're already juggling all of that. So when you come to the United States as an international student, you will continue to balance a lot of different expectations or a lot of different rules and policies. So none of this is new. While the policies may be new, you're already very well equipped to handle, the different demands that are placed on you. So maintaining your immigration status basically means that you understand and you follow the immigration rules to the best of your ability. And if you don't know what they are, you basically can go to the International Student Office. During your international student orientation, we will explain. All the international student offices at the universities in the US will have an orientation for all the international students, and we will explain to you what the immigration regulations are. Since you're coming to the US, and I'm not making this into a mini presentation on immigration rules, but since you are in the US as an international student, your first responsibility is to be a full-time student. There are regulations pertaining to, can you work in the US? Can you work on campus? Can you work outside of campus? If you want to work outside of campus for an internship, for example, and next week's workshop will talk about the opportunities that you'll have for internship experiences. Those would be off-campus type of employment situations. There are regulations of what you need to do in order to work off campus. And then there's also policies about international travel, some things that you need to keep in mind before you leave the US so that you can come back to the US without any problems. Then you have academic rules that you have to maintain. And Patricia covered those really, really well. Academic integrity, not plagiarizing your papers, making progress toward your degree, studying so that you pass your classes and remain in good academic standing. All of that is basically your responsibility, and that can sound very, very overwhelming, but basically you will have the resources. You're not by yourself there, like this ma'am is juggling all these different, it's not balls, it's whatever it is, it's cues or something. He's by himself. You're not going to be by yourself. Next slide, please, Marwa. So as Wang already mentioned, you will have an ISSS office or at least an international student advisor at your side throughout your education in the US, whether that's your 4-year undergraduate degree, whether you come for ESL programs in the US, whether you come for graduate study, whether you come for undergraduate and then graduate study, you will always have an ISSS advisor by your side, or even an ISSS office if you're at a large institution. And one of the things that you may or may not have picked up is, my fellow colleagues here on the panel, we all have international experience. Martin mentioned growing up in Lebanon. I'm originally from Germany, and I immigrated to the US, and I came as an international student. Wang also came as an international student. Patricia mentioned she has origins in Peru. So while I'm the one that works in an international student office and my other colleagues work in different other offices, in your ISSS office and throughout the university that you, or the educational institution that you are attending, or will attend, you will find a lot of people with international backgrounds and international experience. They're also competent. We get education on the immigration regulations. We can provide guidance to you if you have questions, if you have particular goals and you don't know how to achieve them. And you have, immigration regulations may not necessarily be looking as if they support your goals. So make sure that you ask your international student office these questions. The International Student Office is an office at the university. We do issue immigration documents, of course, but we do not work for the immigration service. That is a very, very important distinction. So as Wang mentioned, please don't look at us as an extension of the immigration service. Please look at us as part of your support system at the university. And we're doing all that we can to provide you with the information. Again, it's your responsibility to make sure you understand the information, to ask questions if you don't, to ask for advice, to ask for directions. And if we do not, if it's something that we can't handle, then we will refer you to a different office. If you say, I have a problem with my roommate and I can't sleep at night, then we might refer you, we will work with you, but then we will also refer you to the housing office. So we're very well connected to resources at the university campus or at your campus. So make sure that you have a good relationship with us, and we look forward to having a good relationship with you as well. And then next slide, please, Marwa. And then, safety on campus and in the US. Now, I know that last year and probably years before, you have heard about increased police violence against people of color, mostly against people of color in the US. You have heard about riots in the US. You probably also have heard about increased incidences of gun violence in the US, or the prevalence of, guns in the US overall. However, I can tell you that while these incidents are, of course, important and remind us that we have a lot of work to do as a country, every university, every educational institution does provide a safety system for their students, whether they're domestic or international. So what you see here is pictures of, families and small children on the University of California, Santa Cruz campus. And all of the campuses in the United States have campus police. The campus police is trained to work with a diverse student population. So people from not just different backgrounds in the US, but also international students, different cultural backgrounds. And basically campus police is mostly used if you are in a library and you leave your laptop and your cell phone and your jewelry on your desk, and then you go to the bathroom or you go get a book and you come back and nothing is there. So theft is basically pretty much the most serious thing that typically happens on a college campus. And so there are things that you can do, of course, to protect yourself from that. Not leave your valuables lying around, or securing your laptop with a lock to the table before you get up, or take your laptop with you. Or having a traffic violation. If you drive in the US and you park your car on campus and you don't pay the fee for parking on campus, you might get a ticket. So that could also be a violation that might involve campus police. But campuses in the United States are very, very safe. Your students and faculty and staff are typically not allowed to carry guns onto campus. The police also regularly patrols campus buildings, especially at night. You will have what's called campus escort services, especially if you're on a large campus. Make use of them and have them go, to the bus stop with you from your class that might be late and it's dark outside in the winter. Not that you're going to be in danger of being kidnapped or anything, but just in case you fall and slip on the ice, there will be somebody who will be there to help you. We have student safety monitors on all the campuses, and then there are emergency phones all around the campus locations, usually, where, if you fall and twist your ankle, or if, something happens, you can just hit the phone, the blue button on the phone, and police will be there. So overall, the United States is still a safe country. Not everybody has a gun. Not everybody who has a gun uses a gun. And campuses, especially in the US, are very, very safe places. So you don't have to be scared of coming to the US as being, in the Wild West and it's open shooting season or anything. And I'm happy to answer any questions about safety on campus or in the US. You would, of course, not go, take money out of the cash machine and wave your money around and then go, in the middle of the night in a busy downtown area and show your money to strange people. You wouldn't do that in your home country, and you certainly wouldn't do that in the United States either, because then you might have somebody who would like to take your money. But the basic safety precautions that your parents always tell you would apply in the US, and international students remain very, very safe in the United States. And now I think it's time for questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Gabby, and to our other presenters for sharing so much information with our students today. And thank you also for answering the questions in the chat box during the session as well. I received a couple of questions as private messages, and I would like to start with the first one. One of the students is saying that it is specifically for Patricia, that you have mentioned different centers that can help us on campus regarding academic writing and research. How exactly do they help us? Can we have meetings with other students or other professors? Also, is it group sessions or one-on-one meetings?
Well, it depends on the university or the college, but they're all available. Usually you can have one-on-one sessions and group sessions. I'll give the example of the writing centers, which are very common in our institutions. Usually that's open hours. So a professor or a couple of professors will be there. Often it's in the library, or maybe they have a special space, and you come to them with something that you want to work on writing, and they will guide you and ask you questions, and sometimes ask you to come back on another day with more material to work on. And it really is open to everyone in the college or university who is willing, who's interested in writing. It's especially, those are programs especially geared toward undergraduate students. But tutoring is also usually available, and tutoring is usually peer tutoring, so students helping other students. And if you're very strong in what you are studying, you could become a peer tutor, and that's an on-campus job that you could have and earn some money while helping other students and improving your own academic skills. So there are lots of different opportunities, and I hope that that answered the question.
Yes, thank you so much, Patricia. Another question that we have for all of our representative about diversity on campus. One student is asking, can you tell us about diversity of the student body and faculty on your respective campuses? Juan, would you like to start?
Sure. So it depends on your definition of diversity. I like to think our campus is quite diverse, whether it's different from different religion and background, or the LGBTQ communities, that we have faculty, staff, and students from all walks of life. And more importantly, we have a Mosaic office on campus that really supports you. And if you're looking into a special area that first fits your need, just email Mosaic Multicultural Office. Cultural, again, is very big word. And then they can help you find a group and friends and a support group for you. So, and I like to think that's the same for all campuses. And thank you.
Thank you. Gabby,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say I would agree, and I think that most campuses have a diversity policy, but you can look those things up. We have there's a website called College Factual that can give you some numbers about how diverse campuses are. But we have, for instance, at Hartwick, we have diversity officer, a chief diversity officer, who's in charge of not only making sure that we have programming available, but also training staff and faculty in diversity issues. And then we have a whole separate person and an office for serving diverse groups of students and creating programs and different events for students so that they can learn about diversity and celebrate it.
Thank you. Gabby or Martin, would you like to add anything else?
Sure, I can talk about UC Santa Cruz. So we have, we're basically known as being a university that enrolls a lot of what's called first generation students. Those would be students whose parents never had the opportunity to go to college. We have a lot of agriculture around Santa Cruz. So we have a lot of students whose parents work in the agricultural fields around campus. So that's where they are first generation students. Since we're close to Silicon Valley, we also have a lot of students whose parents are employed, and they're the dependents of employment-based visa holders from different countries. And so we have the whole range of what's called American diversity in terms of socioeconomic status, parental income, racial or ethnic background. And then, of course, our international students. We have about 2,000 international students, and they come from close to 50 different countries, with more room, of course, to grow.
Thank you so much, Gabby. And we actually received a question on Facebook about having a visa appointment. In terms of the visa appointments, please make sure to contact the U.S. Embassy in your city or in your country, because this will differ from one country to another, specifically because of the COVID-19 situation. If you need any help to get the contact information, please feel free to email us, and we will send you the resources or the websites that you will need. Also, we had a question about the type of visa for a certain exchange program. Also, please check with the exchange program so they can help you and let you know the type of visa that you need to apply to. Also, you can email us, and we also can direct you with the Education USA Advising Center if you need any further help or guidance on that matter. We have another question from Ilana Nassar. She is asking, I would like to know more about the study objective that most graduate schools in the US require. What is the structure of the essay, and what should we include in it?
Yeah, Wang just answered that question. Thank you, Wang.
I just
No,
saw
and
that.
I also work in the admissions office, so it really depends on the program you apply to. And generally speaking, you want to make sure you address to the faculty that you want to work with and why you want to work with them. So when you're pursuing a master and PhD program, it's really area specific, and you can capture their attention better if you address it more specifically to the area of interest that you want to pursue and why.
Yes, thank you so much. And one more question that we received through the direct messages. I'm currently in the process of researching universities and colleges. Do you have any recommendations for having a balanced list of colleges?
I can address that, since my little piece was about the various universities. I think the most important thing you need to do is determine where in the US you want to be. Here we have representation from the East Coast, the West Coast, and I think Colorado would be the Southwest, if you will. But I said earlier, there are 4,000 universities, so it's a very huge country. So if, for example, you don't want to be in a cold part of the country, if you don't like the snow, make sure that your search limits you away from cold states. If you like the coast, the East Coast and the West Coast are available. If you prefer mountains, there are so many different regions. So geographical, though it does seem to be minor, it does make a huge difference finally in your I would say your success or your satisfaction of where you are. The other thing to keep in mind is the discipline that you will be working in. Not all universities offer all disciplines. So if you're looking, for example, for something very specific, say nanotechnology in robotics, I don't know anything about that, but let's just say, so that in and of itself will reduce the number of colleges that you will have available to you. Are you looking for a master? Do you want just a bachelor's degree? Then look for bachelor's degree granting institutions. So balancing your search will depend greatly on your own personal interests. And I think that's where you should start, rather than trying to figure out which of the 4,000 universities do I want to go to, which offers the programs that I'm looking for, which offers the environment I'm looking for, which offers literally the physical area that I'm looking for. Think of things like, where do I have relatives? I know that, again, that might seem minor, but some people want to be near relatives. Some people don't want to be near relatives. So a lot of these things, personal preferences will be important as you begin your search.
Thank you so much, Dr. Miller. And as we always tell our students, defining your priorities, it is really important to, choose the best fit programs or universities and colleges. And with that, I would like to end today's session and invite everyone to our second session in this series. It's going to be on Monday, August 2nd, and we will have another 4 university and college representatives representatives from University of Cincinnati, Lone Star College, Northeastern University, and University of California, Davis, and they will be discussing the topics that you can see on the screen. You can find the Zoom registration link on our Facebook page, Education USA West Bank. Also, you can email us after this session at ramallah@educationusa.org, and we can share with you the registration link. Again, I would like to thank everyone, our attendees and our guest speakers for today's session. And Sana, would you like to add anything?
Thank you, Marwa. Thank you so much, Patricia, Gabby, Martin, and Wang for joining us today and sharing your expertise and your perspectives and really very important tips on the various topics that we covered. And we hope to have you join us again in future sessions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day
Bye.
or evening. Goodbye.